Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Today I want to cover rune reading reversals, otherwise known as Merkstaves. Should you read rune reversals or should you not? Um, well, first of all, just a brief explanation of what rune reversals are. We refer to them as Merkstaves, and typically they will either be an inverted meaning, so a reversed meaning. So if something comes out and the meaning was literally white, it would be black when it's reversed, or if it's good, it would be bad. You know, just opposites, right? And the blocked meaning would be this energy here. Say the energy was moving forward. The reverse meaning or the Merkstave meaning would be you're being held still, you're being blocked by something else. Um, okay, so when it comes down to whether or not you should read reversed Merkstaves, sorry, um, for me, I mean, it's personal. You guys are going to figure out your own path anyway, but I'll just give you a few things to consider, right? Um, First of all, how early are you within your rune reading journey? Did you just spend ages committing the meaning of the runes to memory? Are you struggling with a bit of intuition with the runes? Did you literally learn it all last month? Because you're effectively now just going to double your understanding of the runes and make it a lot more complex when you're doing a reading. So if you're really, really early on, if you're a beginner, if you're just learning, getting your feet, I would say don't read Merkstaves for a little while. Just get used to performing readings. Um, Develop that intuition that you need. You kind of want to balance between the study and the intuition because it's supposed to complement each other. Um, so I would say just hold off. It doesn't mean never read rune reversals or Merkstaves. Just hold off a little bit until you're comfortable, and then you can add that extra layer of complexity. Um, and the second consideration would be confidence, really. Are you confident enough, like, say, you've gone through the process I've said, are you confident enough to now read the rune reversals, the Merkstaves, when they present themselves? Um, if you have that level of confidence, then I'd say you're perfectly fine to move forward and do it. None of what I'm saying is like a clear defined path. If you want to learn Merkstave straight off from the start, do it. But for example, is the reason why I say it is so in the Anglo-Saxon Futhorc, there are 33 runes, right? And typically, to get a sense of each individual rune, you're going to need to memorize roughly about three different meanings per rune, right? Um, they'll vary because they're trying to give you more of a sense of what the rune is rather than anything else. But let's just say roughly three meanings per rune, right? So that's 99 meanings altogether. You then have to develop intuition based on those. And if you double that immediately, it's a bit of a mammoth task to take on. So breaking it down a little bit and understanding that even learning all of the runes, their names, the meanings, and developing intuition with them is actually a much bigger task than most people realize. And it's an accomplishment to do that. Okay, so my opinion is just hold off until everything becomes a little bit more fluid, and then incorporate everything else, make things more difficult on yourself. You know, in my life, what I've realized is the easier you make each individual task when it's a really big task, the easier you make each individual part, the more chance it is that you are going to get to the end, you're going to gain success in whatever task it is. And these tasks can be insanely big to accomplish, or they can be small. But you give yourself the least amount of friction, then you have the greatest amount of chance. Sorry, you have the greatest chance of success. Okay, and you want to enjoy this process as much as possible when learning runes and casting. You don't want to get bored or frustrated or annoyed with yourself. There's a high chance you'll walk away, and that's not why you decided to learn the runes. Okay. Um, there is one more consideration. So you can interpret Merkstaves if say you cast the runes and they're upside down, like say you've got something that usually is pointing up, it's pointing down instead. But also you interpret Merkstaves if runes get pulled and they're face down, right? Now, for me personally, I typically don't interpret Merkstaves depending on the rune set that I'm using and depending on the type of reading that I'm doing. I like to cast lots sometimes for certain readings where I'll just throw them down and interpret them where they are. It's not very organized, but it gives a really nice balanced reading. Um, but if I do that and I know that one of the runes will always fall face up or it will always fall face down, and if I take that, say because I use pebbles, right? They're weighted one side and they're irregular shapes. If I take that as a significant meaning, then it's a little bit of a problem. Okay, but say I've made bone runes, or wood runes, or epoxy runes, or metal even, and the weight is perfectly uniform, where it will fall down, face up, face down, however, then I would say it's perfectly fine to use runes and interpret Merkstaves in that situation. But for me, if I'm using the pebble runes, which I use, I'd say 70% of the time, I won't interpret Merkstaves with regards to whether they fall down, face down, or face up. Or I would still, depending on the reading, interpret Merkstaves if they were upside down, inverted, like say facing down and not up, like not face down. Okay. Um, but it's just personal preference, really. It 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 depends on how I feel, the reading, the layout that I'm using, the spread. Um, so essentially, on whether or not you should read Merkstaves, it just comes down to where you are in your journey, how it feels, the runes you're reading, and whether or not you feel it's appropriate. That's my 10 pence, basically. None of what I've said, other than I'd say whether they're weighted or not. None of what I said is like a hard rule. If you feel like you want to interpret Merkstave straight from the beginning, then you go for it. But you're asking a lot of yourself. You really, really are. Um, so yeah, if you have a different opinion, then whack it down in the comments. That's what it's there for. We're there to have a chat. I am not the god of the runes. I didn't I didn't find them in nature and everyone must follow the cult of Tyrone. Um, so tell me what your opinion is down below. If it's the same, that's cool. Hit a thumbs up on the video for me. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. You'll certainly help me out. Um, I'll see you guys in the next one. Yeah.